Our next guest is the all-time champion of the real estate debate. Please welcome back to the show from Story Estates, Elizabeth Story, and her special guest from Double Diamond Insurance, Ross Wood.
Welcome to the show, guys. Welcome. This is my golf clap.
Yeah.
So, champ, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. Today you wanted to bring in Ross and talk about insurance. Tell us why.
Well, growing up, my father was a president and GM of an insurance agency, and so I've always understood well the importance of insurance. And I've also had some personal and professional experience with insurance, and I think that people sometimes gloss over the importance of it, and it's just a really, really crucial piece of your financial puzzle. And one of the things I like about Ross, he's actually also my insurance agent, is that he can offer you pretty much any line of insurance you need, whether it's home, auto, whatever you need, he can provide it for you.
Okay, and so it starts with the home a lot of times, right? Because you buy a house, you got to have homeowners insurance.
Right.
You have to have homeowners, but then there's other things too, Ross, like life insurance, something everybody should have too, right?
Absolutely. And one of the major triggers of purchasing a life insurance policy is usually buying your first home, or your second home, or your third home.
Right.
Or
buying from Elizabeth.
having kids a lot of times.
Having children is another one, and getting married to a certain extent too.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think it makes sense, really, for anyone. If you have any responsibilities,
right,
financially, you got to have life insurance.
Yeah.
It was surprising for me when I took the test and sort of went down the list of all the things that I was financially responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you go over, hey, the next 10 years, let's say, and you needed money for all that stuff, how much would you need? It's more than people think, isn't it, usually?
It's a lot more than people think, yeah. The old guideline used to be 10 times your annual salary, and I don't even know if that's enough anymore.
Really?
Yeah, it's and it just depends on what your situation is. But as life goes on, you acquire more. You start having children. Every one of those children. If you're gone, how are they going to go to college? How are they going to even attend school these days? Everything comes with expense.
What about the difference between the different kinds of policies? Is there anything people need to know? I mean, term seems to be the normal thing people get. I know that's what I bought when I bought life insurance 10 years ago. Yeah. But eventually that sort of runs out, and you kind of have to recalibrate. Well,
term insurance does exactly what you want it to do. If you die, they pay your beneficiaries. It's sort of like renting your house, or like leasing a house. So you lease a house per year, and you're going to pay this much money, and you're going to get to live in the house. Well, life insurance is the same thing. You can get a 10-year term, you can get a 20-year term, you can get a 30-year term, and you're going to pay the same price every month for that policy, and it's going to insure you if you die. Now, the only problem is that only about 2.5% of the time in the life insurance industry do you ever use that before you die. You're going to outlive your policy, which is a good thing. It's better than the alternative.
I was going to say, sounds like a good plan to me.
Now there are also insurance plans. It's called permanent insurance, and that would be things like a whole life insurance policy, a universal life policy, an index universal life, which kind of throws some investment portion into it. And that's more like buying your home. So you're actually building equity in those policies. So the premium is much higher, but that premium goes into a separate account, which either grows by a simple interest rate, which is adjustable, but they don't move very much, or the index is going to follow one of the financial indexes, and they even have a variable universal life that actually follows the stock market and uses sub accounts that are very much like mutual funds.
Okay, that's super interesting. So, what insurances do you need to have? Right, you got it. Life insurance makes sense if you have any financial responsibilities
Absolutely.
at all. Homeowners insurance.
Homeowners insurance is vital because
it's required.
A home is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, so it's very important to protect that investment. And honestly, people, especially first-time home buyers, tend to just they do it because the mortgage company's telling them that they have to, because the mortgage company wants to make sure that their property is insured, because that's that's how they would get their money back if you defaulted on your loan.
Correct.
Or if it burned down, they want to make sure that it's going to be rebuilt, because maybe you couldn't afford to rebuild it.
Correct. And I would say right now, with property values up, is a really good time for people to revisit policies, right? Take a look and make sure that they have the actual, costs.
Actually, that's a very good question, because a common fallacy in homeowners insurance is that the customers think that it has anything at all to do with the actual retail value of the house.
Cost to build.
It's a cost to rebuild, and if you're with a reputable insurance company on a preferred policy, they have an inflation factor built in So you'll probably notice that your rate goes up a little bit every year. That's because the dwelling replacement cost of your house goes up a little bit every year. It's going to cost a little bit more, and they factor that in, and they raise your coverage a little bit every single year.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, from a real estate perspective, where does insurance fit in for you and your clients?
So it's something I always make sure to talk to my clients about, because I'm not interested in just selling them a house. I'm interested in their whole financial well-being. And a lot of times too, people don't understand what they're covered for. I've had several clients where I was able to help them understand what you're covered for. Like, for example, personal injury, even making a review of a business online, if that business didn't like the review you left, you might be covered under the personal injury portion of your homeowner's insurance. Little things like that people might not know. Or I had another client who they'd had a water leak and they decided to fix them themselves. Once they got in there, they realized it was thousands and thousands of dollars of damage. And I said, call your insurance broker. You might be able to submit a retroactive claim. Or things like when we had the fires. A lot of people didn't realize that loss of use is a coverage under your policy. So if your home is damaged in the fire, you don't have to go stay in a shelter. Call your broker, get a hotel room, and get reimbursed for it. So that's your homeowner's piece. So just making sure that you have, and that's why I like to work with the broker. I like to have a personal relationship, because I wouldn't want to be calling a 1-800 number asking very important questions like that. I like somebody who can answer those questions in great detail, like Ross can. And another thing, I know we jumped right away to life insurance, but that's something that on many occasions I've helped people remind them that they need not only life coverage, but some people need umbrella coverage, which Ross can talk about. But for example, I had a family who had babies on the way, and they already had a baby, and they were buying their first house and they were renting. I said, we need to get you really good homeowners insurance. That's mandatory. But have you considered life? Because what if something happens to one of you? You want the other one to be able to stay in the house with the kids. And it was something that never had even occurred to them. So, we called Ross up, and he got them not only a homeowner's policy, but also life and maybe some other coverages.
Double diamond is the way to go, right? I mean, 2 diamonds, better than 1 diamond, right?
Always.
Double the diamonds.
Unless you're at the top of a hill, a snowy hill, then the double diamonds, you might want to be careful with that. Right?
Exactly.
In that case, it could be dangerous. Let's talk about umbrella then, Ross, because that's something where I think a lot of people probably could benefit, but they don't quite understand it.
Yes. Okay, so what an umbrella policy does, actually what any liability coverage does, it's protecting you against lawsuits. That's really what it's doing. So do you need an umbrella policy if you get into a fender bender? Probably not. But if you get into a serious accident and you're found to be at fault, you could lose everything you own. Somebody, God forbid, passes away in an accident that you're found at fault in, or even is permanently disabled. Those lawsuits can get huge. So an umbrella policy, what it does, they require a minimum underlying limit. So typically it's $250,000 per person, $500,000 per accident on auto policy, and $300,000 on the homeowner's policy. And you can get an extra $1 million of coverage. So that pays once. So if you get into a major lawsuit and that $250,000 per person is exhausted, then they will pay another $1 million on top of that. And it does a couple of things that are really good. One thing it protects you, and it helps the person who you injured, right? But it also makes the insurance company very invested in that claim, because they stand to lose $1.5 million. If you're somebody that's driving your car and you have the state minimum limits, which are $15,000 per person, $30,000 per accident,
which so many people driving around.
Yes, they do.
It's unbelievable.
And I mean, you can get to a minor accident. $15,000 is an ambulance ride these days. I mean, it's horrendous what medical costs, and that's what's driving up the cost of car insurance, by the way, as well.
They'll also put a collection on your credit report
yes.
if you don't pay them.
And also, when they go before the judge, he will attach your wages for 10 years to pay off the debt you owe the other person for the portion that the insurance doesn't cover. Yeah. So basically, that 1530 insurance. Nobody that owns a house should have that. They should have the maximum. They should have an umbrella policy, because what the insurance company does. If that person with the 1530 gets into a serious accident, you know what they do? They take a look at the claim in the court case, and they say, well, this guy's going to get $150,000. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to cut a check for $15,000 so fast it'll make your head spin, and they're going to pay the claimant, and then they sue you personally.
I saw an article in Forbes a couple of years ago, and they interviewed like the 100 wealthiest people in the United States, and the number one common thing that they all said that most people don't know about or have enough of, insurance.
Yep.
That's what they all said.
Now an umbrella policy, the average price for a $1 million umbrella policy, if you have 2 cars, 2 drivers, and 1 home, and you own 1 home, is about $180 a year.
I mean, it's
That's
incredible.
all it is. It's nothing. They cost nothing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are
So
those
worth
claims
it.
common? No, they're not real common, but I'll tell you what, if you're the unlucky person that needs it, you better have it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to want to have it. Elizabeth, anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I just like to call it pennies to pounds. Like the difference between the very cheapest policy you can get and really good coverage, you're talking about maybe 100, 200
Yeah.
bucks a year. And on the flip side, you're talking about, 75, 100,000 or more that you stand to lose over a couple $100 a year. So always get the very best insurance that you can and keep it and have a good broker that you can call anytime you need to.
Totally agree. Thank you both so much for being here. Really appreciate your time and your wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Commercial free.
Like a real estate office, or agents to walk in there and go, okay, I want to just stay here and just plug away, and I feel good about working here.
Well, it's funny because the transition in work environments has been happening since Google decided to kind of create an environment of almost like for gamers.